It started on a calm evening, the kind of evening where everything feels slow and peaceful. A girl was sitting outside her house, watching the sky change from orange to soft blue. Her home was in a quiet rural area, far from the noise of the city. Nights here were simple. You could hear crickets, see the stars clearly, and feel the cool wind on your face. She liked that. It made her feel calm after long days. On this particular evening, she had no idea her life was about to take a direction she never expected. She was just sitting on the wooden steps near the small garden, thinking about nothing important. But then she saw something in the sky that didn't fit with the peaceful night. At first, she thought it was just an airplane or maybe a drone. The light moved smoothly, but too quietly for any machine she knew. She squinted, trying to focus, and that moment her heart skipped a beat. The light wasn't moving like anything she had seen before. It wasn't blinking like aircraft lights. It looked controlled, almost like it was searching for something. The object slowed down in the sky. Instead of passing over her house, it began lowering toward the nearby forest. She stood up quickly, her mind rushing with questions. She wasn't the type to imagine strange things, but this wasn't her imagination. Something was landing. Something real. She grabbed her small flashlight and walked closer toward the trail leading to the trees. The air felt different as she stepped into the forest path, still quiet, but tense in a way she couldn't explain. The lights between the trees flickered for a moment, like a glow bouncing on leaves. She moved carefully, trying not to step on dry branches that would make noise. A part of her wanted to turn back, but another part pushed her forward. She didn't know if this was dangerous or safe, yet she kept going, drawn by both fear and curiosity. As she got closer, she saw a silver-like shine between the trees. A shape. Then she heard a soft hum, something mechanical but smooth, almost like a gentle engine sound. She stepped around a thick bush, and her eyes widened. There, in a small clearing, stood a small shuttle-like craft. Its surface reflected the moonlight. The size wasn't large. It felt big enough for maybe 2 or 3 people, not more. It didn't look like anything made by humans. The edges were too clean, the lights too soft and controlled. She felt her breath catch in her throat. This was real. Too real. Before she could decide what to do, a panel on the side of the shuttle slid open silently. A bright white light spilled onto the ground. She froze. Her heart raced in her chest. She didn't even blink as figures stepped out. Their movements were calm and slow, almost deliberate, as if they didn't want to scare anyone. There were 2 of them. Tall, slim, covered in what looked like smooth, dark suits that blended with the night. Their shapes were not fully human, but also not frightening. Their height was taller than her, by at least a head. Their faces were different in a way she couldn't put into word-soft features. Large eyes that looked reflective, and skin that seemed faintly illuminated. Her first instinct was to run, but her legs refused to move. The figures stopped when they noticed her. For a long moment, neither side moved. The forest felt silent, waiting. One of the figures slowly raised what looked like a small device. She panicked for a second, thinking it might be a weapon. But instead of a sound or blast, the device projected a calm human voice. "We come peacefully." She flinched a little. The voice sounded clear, but not natural, like it was translated. "We need assistance," the voice continued. She tried to calm her breathing. She wasn't sure she could trust them, but something in their tone, if it even could be called tone, felt sincere. They stepped slightly aside, revealing something she hadn't noticed before. A large crate sat behind them, partly hidden by the shuttle. It was metal, shaped like a cage, but fully enclosed with small vents on the sides. Something inside moved faintly, causing the crate to shift. She stared at it. The movement wasn't human. It felt like an animal trying to adjust itself. The alien with the device spoke again. There is a young one inside. It is sick, weak. We have brought it to you. Her mind could not keep up. She pointed to herself, confused. Me? Why? The device translated something again. You humans. You care for fragile life. You heal what others abandon. She felt a strange feeling rise inside her, fear, mixed with confusion and a small bit of sympathy. She didn't know why they had chosen her of all people. She wasn't a scientist, not a doctor, not a specialist. Just a normal girl from a quiet countryside home. The aliens approached the crate slowly, pushing it forward until it rested a few steps away from her. She held her breath when another small sound came from inside. Something like a faint, struggling growl. It wasn't angry, but it sounded hurt, tired, scared. We give it to you, the device spoke again. A gift and a request. Please help it. She hesitated, taking a small step forward. The crate was solid and cold. Through the vents, she saw a pair of glowing eyes staring back at her. Eyes full of fear, pain, and confusion. The creature inside was curled tightly. Its breaths were short and uneven. Its fur, if it could be called fur, looked like a mix of shimmering colors, faintly changing with the light. The shape was similar to a feline, but also unlike any earth animal she had seen. It had long ears, a muscular but small body, and sharp claws tucked close to itself. For the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt sorry for it. What happened to it? She asked softly, forgetting the aliens might not understand her. The device translated her words, and the taller figure responded. It is sick. Our healers could not cure it. It has chosen fear, weakness. We do not understand it. But your kind has patience. You might. She didn't like how they described it, like they didn't see the creature as something worthy of care. She gently placed her hand near the crate. The creature flinched, but didn't move away completely. Its glowing eyes followed her hand slowly, as if trying to figure out whether she was a threat or not. She whispered, It's okay. I won't hurt you. The creature blinked, its breathing still rough. The sound of its pain made her chest ache. She didn't know what she was doing, but she knew one thing: she couldn't let it suffer alone. She looked back at the aliens. Why me? Why bring it here? The translator paused, almost as if thinking. Then the voice came again. Its survival depends on something we do not have. Human kindness. She didn't know what to say. Her heart was pounding. Her thoughts were scattered. But somehow, despite all the confusion, she felt a strange responsibility toward the trembling creature in the crate. Okay, she whispered. I'll try. The alien stepped back as if her answer was enough. They didn't ask anything more. They didn't give instructions. They simply nodded, as if relieved. One of them tapped the side of the crate gently, and the creature let out a soft sound, something between a whine and a breath. Then the aliens walked toward their shuttle again. The girl wanted to ask more questions: where the creature came from, why it was sick, how she was supposed to care for it. But before she could speak, the panel closed. The shuttle lifted slightly off the ground. Leaves swirled around from the air pressure. The hum grew louder. Then, without a single dramatic flash or noise, the craft rose above the trees and disappeared into the sky, becoming just another faint light against the stars. The clearing fell silent again. The only sound was the weak breathing inside the crate. She was alone with an alien creature she knew nothing about. She slowly crouched beside the crate. I guess it's just us now. The creature's eyes softened slightly, as if it understood her tone, even if it didn't understand her words. She lifted the crate carefully. It wasn't too heavy, but it required effort. She held it close and walked back through the forest, watching the shadows dance around her as she carried something fragile, frightened, and completely unknown. When she reached her house, she placed the crate inside her small living room. The creature shifted, letting out another soft sound. She sat down on the floor next to it, unsure of what came next. Nothing in her life had prepared her for this moment. She whispered again, more gently than before, "You're safe now. I'll take care of you." The creature's glowing eyes blinked slowly, and for the first time since she saw it, its breath calmed just a little. She didn't know what the aliens expected. She didn't know how long the creature would live, or what caring for it meant. But as she sat there, watching it struggle, but trying to survive, she felt something change inside her. She felt a bond beginning to form, quiet, uncertain, but real. And that was the moment she knew her simple life had ended. Something new had begun. Something she wasn't ready for, but couldn't walk away from. She didn't know the full truth yet, but she felt one thing clearly. This creature wasn't just a gift. It was a responsibility that would change everything. The next morning came quietly, but her mind was anything except calm. She hadn't slept much. Every small sound from the crate had kept her awake, not because she was scared, but because she was worried. When the soft light of dawn filled her room, she finally sat up, rubbed her eyes, and turned toward the crate. The creature was still curled inside, as if protecting itself from the world. Its shimmering fur flickered with faint colors whenever the morning light touched it. She couldn't tell if those colors were natural, or if the creature was reacting to its emotions. It was breathing, but the breaths were shallow and uneven. Its body looked tense, like it expected danger even in this quiet room. She sat down on the floor beside the crate, took a slow breath, and tried to speak gently. "I know you're scared. I'm still scared too, to be honest. But we'll figure this out." At first, the creature didn't respond. But then its ears twitched slightly. It lifted its head just a little, and its glowing eyes looked at her. They didn't look threatening. They looked tired, confused, and unsure of whether she was someone to trust. She slowly unlocked the side panel of the crate. She did it carefully, so she wouldn't startle it. When the panel slid open with a small click, the creature recoiled, pulling itself deeper inside, making a low, weak sound. She paused, keeping her hands still. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not going to touch you unless you want me to." She placed a bowl of fresh water near the open space and another bowl with small pieces of boiled chicken. That was the safest guess she had. She had spent half the night searching online for advice about unknown animals, which obviously didn't exist. But she learned that many creatures, at least on Earth, could start with something simple and gentle on their stomach. The creature didn't move at first. It just stared at the bowl, then at her, trying to understand why she was offering something instead of taking something away. She could almost feel the distrust. She wondered what kind of life it had lived before arriving here, and the thought made her chest tighten. After a minute or two, it stretched out one trembling paw claws, half visible, and gently pressed it against the edge of the crate, as if testing the space. Its body shook a little, and she realized how weak it really was. When it finally reached the bowl of water, it sniffed it cautiously. Then, with a small hesitation, it drank a little. The movement was shaky, but the way it paused to swallow told her it needed this. "That's it," she whispered as if talking to a small child. "Just a bit more." It drank only for a few seconds before pulling back, exhausted from even that small effort. It didn't touch the food yet, but she didn't want to push it. The girl sat there, watching it quietly. She didn't move too much, trying not to overwhelm the creature with her presence. She knew that every small moment of calm mattered for building trust. She wasn't trying to tame it or force a bond. She only wanted it to feel safe enough to breathe. After a while, she stood up slowly and walked to the kitchen area. She looked around her home small, simple, not at all like a place prepared for something from another world. But she had to make it safe for this fragile creature. She pulled out an old blanket and gently placed it next to the crate, leaving the creature the choice to step onto it if it wanted. She also opened her window slightly, so fresh air could come in. Not too much, just enough to keep the room calmed out. Hours passed like this slowly, quietly, with both of them adjusting to each other's presence. At one point, she stepped away to make herself something to eat. But even while making breakfast, she kept glancing toward the room. She didn't want to leave the creature alone for too long, afraid it might panic or injure itself. When she came back, she noticed something small but important. The chicken she left earlier was missing. Not all of it, but a few small pieces were gone. She smiled without saying anything. She didn't want to startle it by reacting too loudly. "You're stronger than you look," she whispered. The creature made a soft sound, not a growl, more like a faint, breathy chirp. It was the first time she heard something from it that didn't sound like fear or pain. She sat down slowly next to the crate again. This time, the creature didn't pull back as sharply. It watched her with its glowing eyes, head resting on its front paws. "You know," she said gently, "I don't know anything about you. I don't even know what you're called. But you're safe here, okay? No one is going to hurt you." The creature blinked slowly, and its ears lowered, not in fear, but in a way that looked almost relaxed. She took that as a good sign. After some time, she noticed a small mark near the creature's shoulder. It looked like a wound, nothing fresh, but still painful looking, wrapped in something that resembled thin alien fabric. She realized this must have been part of the reason it was suffering. It had been injured, not just sick. She wanted to help, but she didn't want to touch it without permission. So instead, she brought a small bowl of warm water and soft cloths. She placed them nearby, letting the creature see them. "If you let me, I can try to clean that. It might hurt a little, but it will help." The creature didn't come out, but it didn't hide either. It just watched her with a strange kind of awareness, like it was deciding whether she was worth trusting. She didn't force anything. She sat beside the crate with the warm cloths in her lap and waited. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, very slowly, the creature stretched its neck forward, sniffing the cloth. Its eyes flickered. It made a soft sound again, something tired but gentle. Without saying a word, she dipped the cloth in the water and squeezed it out. Then she moved her hand slowly toward the creature's shoulder. She paused each time it closed its eyes or flinched, waiting for it to relax. When she finally touched the wound area, the creature let out a weak sound, not angry, not threatening, just uncomfortable. She whispered, "I know. I'm trying to be careful." She wiped the area softly, making sure not to tug or press too hard. The creature's muscles were tight, but after a few seconds, they loosened slightly. She cleaned around the wound, removed some dried dirt, and made it breathable. She didn't have medicine for alien injuries, but she knew cleaning it was a good start. "You're really brave," she murmured as she worked. It took a few minutes. But when she finished, the creature looked at her in a way that made her feel something shift. Trust wasn't fully there yet, but something close to it had started growing. The rest of the day passed quietly. The creature rested more comfortably now. It even shifted closer to the open side of the crate, not as curled and tense as before. As evening approached, she sat near it again. She talked softly, not expecting it to understand every word, but believing it could understand her tone. She told it about her day, about how strange everything felt, about how she hadn't told anyone because she didn't want people coming to look and poke at it like some kind of object. The creature listened, or at least it looked like it did. Its ears twitched when she spoke. Its eyes followed her hands when she moved them. Later, when the sky outside turned dark and the crickets began their nightly sounds again. She prepared to sleep on the couch so she could stay close. She didn't want the creature to wake up scared and alone, but before she lay down, she noticed something small and surprising. The creature, though still weak, had shifted its body so that its head rested near the open panel of the crate, facing her, as if it wanted to stay close too, as if the presence of another living being made it feel a little safer. She whispered, "Good night. I'll be right here." The creature closed its eyes, its breathing still soft, but no longer shaking with fear. As she lay there, staring at the ceiling, she felt something settle in her heart. This wasn't just about caring for a sick creature anymore. Something deeper was forming, something she couldn't quite explain. She had a feeling this creature was far more intelligent and sensitive than she first thought, and even though she didn't know it yet, this small moment of trust was the beginning of something much bigger than she ever imagined, something that would slowly uncover the truth behind why the aliens brought the creature to her in the first place. The next few days passed slowly, filled with small moments that felt important, even though nothing dramatic happened on the surface. The creature was healing little by little. It still looked weak and fragile, but its breathing was steadier now, and it no longer flinched every time she moved. The fear in its eyes was still there, but it wasn't as sharp as before. It was changing, softening, like it finally believed that harm wasn't waiting around every corner. Every morning, she woke up on the couch and found the creature's glowing eyes already watching her from inside the crate. Not in a threatening way, more like it was trying to make sure she hadn't left. For some reason, that simple thing made her feel responsible in a way she hadn't felt before. She talked to it often, even though she didn't expect it to understand everything she said. Sometimes she told it about her day. Sometimes she talked about random things just to fill the silence so the creature wouldn't feel alone. The creature listened quietly, its ears tilting slightly whenever she lowered her voice or laughed softly at her own stories. One afternoon, while she was cleaning up the room, she noticed something unusual. The creature wasn't just lying still inside the crate anymore. It was looking around with alertness, studying everything: the furniture, the window, the light patterns on the floor. It wasn't the lost, frightened creature from the first night anymore. There was curiosity forming behind those glowing eyes. She crouched beside it. "You're feeling a little better today, aren't you?" The creature made a tiny sound, almost like a puff of breath. It wasn't loud, but she could hear a different tone in it, something softer and warmer than before. She smiled. She didn't need a translator to understand what that meant. Later that day, she brought a small rubber ball to the room. It wasn't for play. She only wanted to test how alert the creature was. She placed the ball on the floor near the crate. At first, the creature didn't react, but after a minute, one of its ears twitched. Then it stretched out its paw and tapped the ball lightly. To her surprise, the creature didn't just hit it randomly. It tapped it in a pattern: one tap, a pause, two taps, another pause. Then one more tap. She blinked. Was that on purpose? The creature looked at her. There was something sharp in its eyes now, not dangerous, but intelligent. She sat down cross-legged near the crate and gently rolled the ball toward it. It reached out again and tapped the ball twice, paused, then tapped it twice more. She stared at it, amazed. "You're doing that on purpose. You're trying to communicate." The creature made another soft sound. It wasn't a growl. It sounded thoughtful, almost encouraging. She picked up a notebook and a pen from the table. If the creature was trying to show her something, she wanted to understand it. She drew small shapes on the page and showed it. The creature tilted its head, curious. Then it extended its paw again and tapped the floor in a slow, careful rhythm. Tap. Pause. Tap tap. Long pause. Tap. She wrote down the pattern, unsure what it meant, but determined to keep track. It wasn't random. She could feel it. It was trying to say something it couldn't express through sound. Over the next few hours, the creature repeated different tapping patterns. Sometimes slow, sometimes quick, sometimes mixed with soft, breathy chirps. It was like watching someone try to speak a language she didn't understand yet. She finally asked softly, "Are you trying to tell me something? Something about where you came from?" The creature looked away for a moment. Its ears lowered slightly, and its eyes grew distant, almost sad. Then, with a shaky movement, it shifted its body and reached under its fur with its claws. She stepped forward carefully, ready to help in case it hurt itself. But instead of scratching, the creature pulled out something tiny and metallic, hidden underneath a thicker patch of its shimmering fur. Her breath caught. "Wait, what is that?" The creature held the object between its claws for a second, then gently placed it on the floor and pushed it toward her Dot. She picked it up carefully. It was no bigger than a coin, but lighter, with strange lines carved into its surface. She turned it between her fingers, unsure what she was holding. "Is this something important to you?" she asked quietly. The creature let out a slow, weak sound. Not from pain, but from exhaustion. Yet its eyes told her this was not just an object. It was a message. A piece of something it needed her to understand. She placed it on the floor, and the creature reached out again, tapping the object lightly 3 times. As soon as it made that third tap, the small device flickered. A dim light formed around it, and a soft glow expanded into a blurry shape above the floor. Dot, she gasped. It was a hologram Dot. The projection wasn't sharp or clear, but she could see figures tall, alien figures, similar to the ones who had visited her, but different in posture. Their movements weren't gentle, like the pair who brought the creature. These figures looked harsher, more aggressive. The shapes of their bodies were rigid, and their hands moved in sharp motions, like commands. Dot, in the hologram, she saw the creature smaller, trembling, surrounded by them. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't being wild. It was frightened. She watched as one alien figure approached it with something sharp and metallic. She couldn't see exactly what they were doing, but she knew from the creature's reaction that it was painful. The creature tried to back away, but the aliens grabbed it forcefully. Her heart clenched. She covered her mouth, trying not to gasp too loudly. The hologram flickered again, showing short flashes, bright lights, harsh movements, the creature trying to escape. It looked traumatized, terrified. It wasn't being treated like a living being. It was being handled like a tool that wasn't performing correctly. Then the projection dimmed and disappeared completely. She stared at the creature, shocked. "They hurt you?" It blinked slowly, its eyes sad but steady. It didn't need to speak. She already understood. The aliens who brought it here had lied. They made it sound like the creature was sick or weak or a burden. But the truth was far more painful. The creature had tried to escape. It had been mistreated. Maybe it refused to do something they wanted. Maybe it had no one to defend it among its own kind. And now it had trusted her enough to show her the truth. She leaned closer to the crate, her voice gentle but firm. "You weren't weak. They just didn't understand you." The creature blinked again, as if agreeing. She sat back against the couch, trying to understand everything. The tapping patterns, the wound on its shoulder, the fear in its eyes, the way it had curled itself protectively. It all made sense now. This wasn't just an alien creature that had been left behind. This was a being who had run away from something painful, something it couldn't fight. She felt a strange protective instinct rise in her chest, stronger than before, the kind of feeling that said she couldn't let anyone take it back or hurt it again. Whatever secrets the aliens were hiding, she knew now that the creature wasn't just a gift, that it was a survivor, that it trusted her enough to reveal its past. That meant something. She reached out slowly and placed her hand near the open crate. Not touching, just offering calm presence. The creature looked at her hand, hesitated for a few seconds, then placed its trembling paw gently on the floor in front of her. Closer than ever before. It wasn't touching her. But it was as close as it could manage. That small gesture felt huge. She whispered, "I promise. I'm not going to let anything hurt you again." For the first time, the creature closed its eyes not in fear, but in peaceful surrender. As if it finally believed that here, in this small quiet home on a lonely planet, it had finally found a place where it didn't have to hide or run. And even though she didn't know what the future held, she could already feel one thing clearly. Everything was going to change from here. The truth was only beginning to come out. The next morning started quietly, yet something felt different in the small house. The girl woke up earlier than usual, almost as if her mind already knew that this day wouldn't be ordinary. She sat up slowly, rubbed her eyes, and listened carefully. The house was calm, but there was a faint sound coming from the other room, like soft breathing mixed with a low, tired growl. She quickly remembered the feline beast. She rushed out of her room, her footsteps light on the floor. When she reached the corner, she slowed down, not wanting to startle the creature. The alien feline still lay on the blanket she had given him the night before. His body rose and fell slowly. His eyes were half closed, but they seemed brighter than before. He wasn't healed yet, but he didn't look as weak as he did yesterday. The girl quietly sat beside him. "You're awake," she whispered. The beast turned his head slightly, as if acknowledging her voice. His ears twitched, his tail moved just a little, and then he tried to lift himself. He didn't fully get up, but he came higher than he had before. The girl smiled with relief. It was progress, slow, but real. She placed her hand gently on his side. "You're getting stronger," she said. The beast's golden eyes studied her face for a long moment. There was no fear or aggression in his look, just calm curiosity. It was strange, she thought. For a creature built like a predator, he carried a very soft presence with her. After checking that he was comfortable, the girl went to the kitchen and warmed up some broth she had prepared earlier. She poured it carefully into a bowl and brought it back to him. The beast sniffed it, then drank slowly. His movements were still a bit sluggish, but he no longer struggled for each breath. The girl felt a kind of happiness she hadn't felt in a long time. Taking care of him gave her a sense of purpose, like she mattered in a way she had never felt before. While the beast finished drinking, she noticed something unusual on his neck, an almost invisible mark shaped like a thin line. It glowed faintly, the same color as his eyes. She leaned closer to see it better. Suddenly, the mark brightened. The girl jumped slightly. The beast didn't react with fear. Instead, he lowered his head and closed his eyes as if the glow was something familiar. A moment later, a small holographic symbol appeared above the mark, floating in the air like a soft blue flame. The girl stared at it with shock. She had never seen anything like this. The tiny symbol spun slowly, then faded. "What was that?" she whispered. The beast didn't answer, of course, but she felt he understood her confusion. It made her wonder how much she still didn't know about him. Maybe that mark was something aliens used, maybe an identification tag. Or maybe it was more personal, like a bond seal. Whatever it was. She sensed it wasn't dangerous. Later in the day, she stepped outside to get fresh air. The sky was clear, and sunlight warmed the ground. She sat on the edge of the porch, breathing in the morning breeze. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. But then she noticed something at the far edge of the field, a shimmer, like light bending in a strange way. Her heart jumped. She knew instantly what it meant. It was the same effect she saw when the alien visitors had appeared before. She stood up slowly, trying not to panic. She looked back at the house. The beast was still resting. He had no idea something was happening outside. The shimmering grew stronger, forming a clear outline. Within seconds, a tall alien figure appeared. The same kind as the ones who brought the beast to her, the ones who called him a gift. The girl took a step backward. She wasn't expecting them to return so soon. She didn't know if they were here to check on him, or if something else was going on. The alien raised a hand gently, signaling that he came in peace. His posture was calm, almost respectful. "We observed the energy shift," the alien said in a slow, careful voice. Their speech always had a soft echo, like two tones speaking at once. "The beast is awakening." The girl could barely speak. "Is he supposed to glow like that?" "Yes," the alien replied. "It means he is beginning to bond." Her breath caught. "Bond? With me?" The alien nodded slowly. "He has chosen you." The girl didn't know what to feel. She was confused, excited, and nervous all at once. "But why me?" she asked. "You cared for him, and he sensed something in you. Our creatures do not bond easily. They choose only when they feel safe." The alien paused, then added gently, "Such a bond is special." The girl swallowed hard. She felt her chest tighten, but not in fear, in something heavier, deeper. She asked softly, "Is that okay?" The alien tilted his head slightly. "It is more than okay. It means you are now part of his life. He will protect you with all he has, and he will trust you above others." Before she could respond, a sudden sound came from inside the house, a low, warning growl. The beast had sensed the visitor. The alien turned his gaze toward the door. "He awakens." The girl rushed inside just as the beast pushed himself to his feet. He wasn't fully stable yet, but he stood tall enough to show his strength. When he saw the alien, his eyes narrowed, and he stepped protectively in front of the girl. "It's okay," she whispered to him. "They're not here to hurt us." The alien took a respectful step back, lowering his hands to show no threat. "We are not here for conflict," he said calmly. "We came only to observe." The beast didn't fully relax, but he didn't attack either. His tail swayed behind him slowly, showing caution. After a long moment, the alien spoke again. "We will leave you both. The bond must grow naturally. We will return when the time is right." With that, the alien activated a small device. Light shimmered around him, and within seconds, he vanished. Silence filled the house again. The beast turned his head toward the girl, studying her face. He looked tired from standing, so she helped him lie back down. As she gently adjusted the blanket under him, he lowered his head into her lap without warning. The girl froze. His warm, heavy head resting on her legs felt like a silent promise, a kind of trust she had never experienced before. Slowly, she placed her hand on his head. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here." The beast closed his eyes, breathing calmly. Something inside her heart shifted at that moment. Something she didn't expect. She no longer saw him as a creature she needed to help. She saw him as something closer, someone who needed her, someone who trusted her more deeply than she understood. The day passed quietly after that. She stayed with him almost the entire time, talking to him softly even though he couldn't speak. She told him things she never shared with anyone, how she felt lonely sometimes, how she didn't know where she fit in the world, how she wished she had someone who understood her. The beast listened. At least it felt like he did. When evening came, the girl stepped outside for a moment to breathe the cool air. The sky had turned orange, fading into a soft blue. She looked up, wondering if the aliens were watching from somewhere far above. She wondered what unexpected thing might happen next, because she could feel it deep inside. Today had already been strange, but it didn't feel like the end of anything. It felt like the beginning of something bigger. When she returned inside, The beast lifted his head slightly, waiting for her. His eyes glowed faintly, softer than before, almost warm. She smiled. "I'm here," she whispered again. He settled down, and without fully understanding why, she felt safer than she had ever felt in her entire life. The next few days passed quietly, but something inside the girl felt different, almost like her life had taken a sudden turn she wasn't prepared for. Every morning she woke up with the same thought: check the beast first. And every morning she found him a little stronger, a little more aware, and a lot more connected to her. The bond between them had grown without her noticing at first. He followed her movements with his eyes, reacted to her voice, and sometimes even nudged her hand with his head as if asking for attention. She found it almost funny that a creature who once looked terrifying now behaved like he trusted her more than anyone else in the world. But that trust also brought a kind of responsibility she had never felt before. On the 5th morning, she heard a low rumbling sound from the room where he slept. It wasn't a growl. It sounded more like someone trying to talk, but their voice wasn't made for human language. She quietly pushed open the door. The beast stood for the first time without shaking. His tall frame filled the room. His fur had regained its shine. The faint glow in his eyes was stronger, and even the strange mark on his neck flickered with energy. He looked healthier than ever. When he saw her, his ears perked up, and he lowered his head as if greeting her. The gesture surprised her. It felt almost respectful. "You're getting better fast," she whispered. Amazed, the beast blinked slowly, then took a few careful steps toward her. She stepped back a little, not out of fear, but because she didn't want to get in his way. He slowly walked past her into the hallway, testing his legs, lifting his tail, stretching as though he had been waiting for this moment. She followed him quietly. The beast approached the window and looked outside with deep curiosity. It was as if the world felt new to him after days of weakness. The sunlight hit his fur, making the glowing mark shine brighter. He turned back toward her, and for a moment they simply looked at each other. There was a strange understanding in his eyes. Not human-like, but close enough that she felt it suddenly. The mark on his neck lit up again, brighter than before. "Not again," she whispered, stepping closer. But this time, instead of a small symbol, a thin holographic line formed in the air, spreading into shapes and patterns she couldn't understand. The beast didn't seem afraid. In fact, he sat calmly as if he knew what was happening. The patterns shifted into something clearer, a projection of an alien face, the same kind as the visitor's. The girl froze. The alien image spoke in a soft but steady voice. "You have formed a complete bond. The creature's recovery is accelerated by your presence." The girl swallowed, unsure how to respond. "Is that normal?" "Yes," the projection said. "He chose you, and he will follow you until the bond weakens naturally, which may take many cycles." She didn't fully understand what many cycles meant, but she guessed it was a long time. The projection continued. "His abilities will awaken soon. You must be prepared." "Abilities?" She whispered. The alien image paused. "Yes, he is not only a feline predator. He is a guardian beast. He senses danger, reads emotion, and can react faster than most creatures. With the bond, his instincts will be tied to your safety." A nervous wave went through her. "So, he protects me?" "He protects what he accepts as his own," the projection said. "And he has accepted you." The hologram flickered, then vanished, leaving the room silent again. The girl slowly exhaled. She sat down on the floor, trying to understand everything at once. The beast walked toward her and lowered his head beside her arm. "You're full of surprises," she said softly. For the rest of the day, she tried to help him adjust to being fully awake again. She opened the door to the outside, letting him explore the yard. At first, he moved carefully, sniffing the air, tilting his head at the sound of birds. Then, little by little, he grew more confident. He walked around the trees. He tested his claws on the ground. He even let out a deep, thunder-like sound that she wasn't sure was a roar or just a stretch of his throat. She followed him the entire time, staying close so he wouldn't feel alone. But even in his excitement, he never strayed too far. Every few minutes he turned back to check if she was still there. And if she walked a little too far from him, he hurried back to her side. It was clear. The bond was real. After a while, he sat under a tree, relaxing. She sat next to him and leaned her back against the bark. The air was cool, the sky calm, and for once, she felt peaceful. But the peace didn't last long. A sudden rumble echoed in the distance, not thunder, but something mechanical. The beast's ears shot up and his eyes narrowed. He stood instantly, his posture tense. "What's wrong?" she asked, standing quickly. The beast didn't look at her. He stared toward the forest, his tail stiff, his body focused like he sensed something approaching. The sound grew louder. The girl's heart raced. "Is someone coming?" The beast stepped in front of her, blocking her with his body. His chest expanded as he inhaled deeply. Then he released a low warning growl, one she had never heard from him before. It wasn't weak or tired. It was powerful. The bushes at the far end of the yard rustled aggressively. Something large moved behind them. For a second, the girl feared it might be another beast, maybe one not friendly like him. But when the bushes parted, she froze. It was a small landing craft alien, but different from the one she recognized. It looked damaged, like it had crashed or been chased. The metal was burned, the lights flickering. The craft opened, and an alien stepped out, injured, trembling. Holding his arm. The beast growled louder. The alien raised his free hand, not in threat but in desperation. "Guardian beast," he said in a strained voice. "We need your human." The girl blinked hard. "Me? Why?" The alien staggered forward. "Something is coming. A disturbance in the forest. We detected it near your home." The beast stepped forward, placing himself between the alien and the girl. The alien shook his head. "Not here to harm. Here to warn." The girl felt a heavy coldness in her chest. She looked at the beast. He didn't move, still growling, still ready to protect. The alien continued. The energy emitted from the guardian beast during bonding attracted something. A creature from our world. It is dangerous, and it is coming this way. The girl felt her breath catch. "Why didn't you warn me earlier?" The alien looked down with guilt. "We did not expect the bond to activate this fast." The beast growled again, louder than before. His glowing mark brightened until it shone like a small torch. The alien stepped back. "He senses it. It's close." The girl's hands trembled. She didn't know what to do or how to react. She wasn't trained for anything dangerous. She was just an ordinary girl who wanted to help a sick creature. But now, something dangerous was coming because of her. The beast suddenly nudged her leg with his head, pushing her gently toward the house. He wanted her to go inside. "No," she whispered. "I won't leave you alone." The beast let out a deep rumble, insisting she move, but she shook her head. "You're not facing anything alone. Not anymore." The injured alien looked between them. "The bond is strong," he said quietly. "He will defend you, but you must not run far from him. Your presence strengthens him." The sound in the forest grew louder, branches breaking, ground shaking lightly. The girl's heart pounded. She placed her hand on the beast's shoulder, feeling the warmth of his fur. "I'm here," she said softly. The beast lowered his head. Accepting her touch, the alien pointed toward the trees with fear in his eyes. "It's coming." The girl held her breath. The beast stepped forward. His mark glowed brighter. The forest trembled. And for the first time, since the day she met him, she finally understood the bond. Wasn't just something special, Dot. It was something powerful, Dot. Something that would change everything.